Hello, I'm Dr. Linda Parker. Today, I want to talk to you with absolute clarity about a silent saboteur for your heart and blood vessels. It's not a rare ingredient, and it's not a fad villain. It's something most people take in every single day without noticing, often in healthy-looking foods. The worst food for your arteries that you probably eat daily is added sugar. Not the natural sweetness in a whole apple or a bowl of berries, but the refined, concentrated sugars that manufacturers add to breads, sauces, yogurts, drinks, cereals, snacks, and even savory foods that don't taste dessert-like at all. When added sugar slips into your routine, it sets off a chain of effects that stiffen arteries, inflame the lining of your blood vessels, and accelerate the process that doctors call atherosclerosis. My goal today is to show you exactly how it harms, how to spot it, and how to replace it with habits that actively protect your arteries without feeling deprived. Let's start by busting a common myth. For years, we were told to fear fat without nuance, to choose low-fat everything, and to assume that sugar was harmless as long as calories didn't skyrocket. That message backfired. Many low-fat products replaced fat with sugar to make them palatable, and people who genuinely wanted to care for their heart ended up eating more added sugar than ever. The result was not better arteries. It was higher triglycerides, more small dense LDL particles, more insulin resistance, more inflammation, and more plaque buildup. Fat is not the enemy in a vacuum. The wrong combination of ultra-processed carbohydrates and added sugar is. And the proof shows up not just in lab charts, but in everyday life. Energy crashes, creeping waistlines, higher blood pressure, and a cardiovascular system that feels older than your age. Here's the plain language reality of what added sugar does to your arteries. When you regularly consume refined sugar, your body has to park that rapid flood of glucose somewhere. First, it tries to store some in muscle and liver. When those are topped off, the liver converts the excess into triglycerides. Those triglycerides rise in your blood and contribute to the formation of small, dense LDL particles. These are not the large, buoyant particles that float around with less harm. These are the small bullets that can slip under the lining of your arteries more easily. The combination of high triglycerides and small, dense LDL is a red flag for arterial aging. You might not feel this biochemistry, but your arteries do. The second effect is on your endothelium, the ultra-thin layer that lines every blood vessel. Think of the endothelium as a living sensory fabric that regulates when your vessels relax and when they tighten. It releases nitric oxide to help your arteries dilate and keep blood flowing smoothly. Added sugar disrupts that elegance. Spikes in glucose reduce nitric oxide availability and generate oxidative stress inside the vessel wall, which means your arteries lose some of their natural flexibility. Over time, less flexibility means more pressure on your heart and more strain on every tiny vessel that feeds your brain, your kidneys, and yes, your intimate health. The third effect is on inflammation, the background heat that drives plaque instability. Added sugar doesn't just provide empty calories, it feeds processes that create glycation end products. That's the technical way of saying sugar binds to proteins in a way that gums up the machinery. Glycation stiffens the very proteins that give your arteries elasticity. It also places your immune system on a low simmer, nudging cholesterol and other lipids to stick where they don't belong. When you reduce added sugar, inflammatory markers tend to cool. Your vessels respond. The fourth effect concerns your blood pressure and fluid balance. Not many people know this, but added sugar, especially in sugary drinks, can increase uric acid, which interacts with the lining of blood vessels and the kidneys. That shift can promote sodium retention and higher blood pressure over time. In other words, it's not only the salt shaker you should watch, it's the sugar in your day that makes salt harder for your body to handle. This is why some people lower blood pressure more by cutting sweetened beverages than by white-knuckling salt alone. The fifth effect is on the liver. Added sugar, particularly in the form of high fructose syrups, encourages fat accumulation in the liver, known as fatty liver. A fatty liver pumps out more triglycerides and worsens insulin resistance, creating a loop that feeds arterial plaque. The good news is that your liver is remarkably forgiving. When you reduce added sugar and move your body consistently, you often see triglycerides fall in weeks, not years. The sixth effect is on the microbiome. Ultra-processed sugary foods shift the balance of your gut bacteria toward species that thrive on quick fuel and don't support the production of beneficial short-chain fatty acids. Those short-chain fatty acids help maintain the integrity of your gut barrier and lower inflammation system-wide. When you swap added sugar for fiber-rich foods, your microbiome changes in your favor. A calmer gut often means calmer arteries. The seventh effect shows up where people rarely look: sleep quality and hormonal rhythm. Added sugar late in the day can fragment sleep, and fragmented sleep raises next-day blood pressure, increases cravings, and blunts decision-making around food. It becomes a cycle. Protecting your arteries requires protecting your nights. When you shift sweetness earlier and tie it to whole foods, you sleep more deeply, and your cardiovascular system thanks you. So how do you untangle yourself from added sugar without feeling punished? You need a method, not just motivation. Motivation is the spark. Method is the engine. I'll give you a simple blueprint that you can start tonight with upgrades layered over the next 4 weeks. It focuses on the foods you already eat, the labels you already glance at, and the routines you already almost have in place. Step 1 is spotting hidden sugar with one timeless rule. Read the label and scan the ingredients list before you check calories or protein. Manufacturers know you're looking for sugar, so they rename it to hide it in plain sight. Look for these frequent aliases: cane juice, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, maltose, rice syrup, malt syrup, agave, fruit juice concentrate, sucrose, invert sugar, brown rice syrup, and evaporated cane syrup. If it's among the first 3 ingredients, it's a signal. If you see 2 or more forms of sugar, assume it's designed to be sweeter than you realize. Step 2 is trading daily anchors, not everything at once. You identify the one sugary product you consume every single day and replace it with a low-sugar alternative. That single swap reduces glucose spikes dramatically because daily habits outweigh occasional treats. The most common anchor is a sweet beverage. If you drink soda, sweet tea, fruit juice, or a healthy smoothie, start here. Replace with sparkling water and a slice of citrus, unsweetened iced tea, or coffee with a splash of milk and cinnamon. If your anchor is breakfast cereal, choose one with at least 5 grams of fiber and less than 5 grams of sugar per serving, or go with Greek yogurt plus berries and walnuts. If your anchor is a nightly dessert, shift to dark chocolate with at least 80% cocoa and a handful of fresh fruit. Step 3 is building meals that blunt glucose at the source. The order and composition of your meals matter. Start with protein and fiber, then add whole food carbohydrates. A breakfast example: eggs or tofu scramble with spinach and tomatoes, a side of avocado, and a small bowl of berries. A lunch example: a hearty salad with leafy greens, chickpeas or grilled chicken, olive oil and lemon dressing, olives and seeds, followed by a small apple if you want something sweet. A dinner example: salmon or lentil stew with roasted vegetables and a side of quinoa, then a square of dark chocolate if desired. This approach stabilizes your blood sugar curve, helping your arteries and your appetite. Step 4 is timing your sweetness. If you're going to enjoy something sweet, do it after a meal, not on an empty stomach. The protein, fat, and fiber from the meal slow down absorption and reduce the spike that irritates your vessel walls. Many people find that placing a small sweet bite after lunch curbs cravings at night. Nighttime sugar is the most punishing for sleep and arterial stress, so moving sweetness earlier is powerful. Step 5 is mastering savory flavor, so you don't miss sugar's dopamine hit. Your taste buds adapt. Use herbs and spices aggressively. Cinnamon in coffee, vanilla in yogurt, smoked paprika and cumin in stews, lemon zest on vegetables, balsamic reduction on roasted mushrooms, and a generous squeeze of citrus on salads. When food is vivid, you don't need a sugar curtain to feel satisfied. Step 6 is the 2-minute movement rule. After any meal with carbohydrates, walk for 2 minutes, do 20 bodyweight squats by a chair, or climb a flight of stairs twice. Short muscle contractions pull glucose into muscle without needing as much insulin. The drop in post-meal glucose is real and immediate, and the effect on your arteries is cumulative. Step 7 is the 30-day label challenge. For 1 month, you aim to keep added sugar under a daily budget that is realistic for you. Many adults do well under 25 grams per day. The key is not perfection, it's awareness plus trend. You can track for 1 week to calibrate your eye, then continue by habit. The reward is visible in your energy, and, often, on your next set of labs. Let me give you a clear 4-week plan so this becomes a habit rather than a phase. In week 1, eliminate sugary drinks and flavored coffees. Replace them with unsweetened options and sparkling water. Keep fruit whole rather than juiced. Expect a mild headache or irritability for 2 or 3 days. That's your nervous system recalibrating. Hydrate. Add a pinch of salt to water if needed, and keep moving. In week 2, overhaul breakfast. Added sugar is sneakiest at the start of the day. Replace sweet cereals and pastries with protein-forward options. Rotate 2 breakfasts you enjoy so you don't have to think. For example, Greek yogurt with berries and walnuts one day, eggs with sautéed vegetables, and a slice of whole grain toast the next. If you like oatmeal, make it steel cut and top it with chia seeds, nuts, cinnamon, and just a few berries. In week 3, reshape your snacks. Most people don't overdo sugar at meals. They overdo it between meals. Trade granola bars and candies for nuts, seeds, cheese with cucumber slices, hummus with carrots, edamame, or a small apple with peanut butter. Keep these options visible and within reach. Willpower is weaker than environment. Change the environment. In week 4, test your evenings. Choose 3 nights with no added sugar after dinner. Use herbal tea with cinnamon or mint as a signal that the kitchen is closed. Read, stretch, or take a short walk. Notice your sleep and your morning blood pressure if you track it. Most people see improvements quickly when they honor the evening window. Now let's address the daily places where added sugar hides. Granola that markets itself as natural can carry 12 grams of sugar per serving. Yogurt with fruit on the bottom can range from 10 to 20 grams. Healthy smoothies from cafes can contain 40 or 50 grams. Ketchup and barbecue sauces can add multiple teaspoons in a small serving. Salad dressings, especially low-fat versions, often use sugar to compensate for lost flavor. Packaged breads can include sugar as a browning agent and softener. Flavored oatmeal packets can carry as much sugar as dessert, and so-called energy bars can read like candy when you inspect them closely. Your defense is simple. If sweetness is prominent on the label, find the unsweetened version and sweeten it yourself with fruit if you must. You control the dose. Some people worry they'll miss joy without sugar. What they discover is that food joy returns when their palate resets. After 2 weeks, strawberries taste sweeter, tomatoes more vivid, and dark chocolate more satisfying. Cravings quiet down because your blood sugar stops lurching from mountain to valley. When cravings do appear, they usually mean one of 2 things. You're underfueled on protein and fiber, or your stress is asking for a quick neural reward. Address the cause instead of negotiating with the craving. Eat a real meal or step outside for a 5-minute walk in daylight. Both strategies break the loop. Because this channel is about practical wellness, let's talk about travel, restaurants, and celebrations. On the road, pack defaults: nuts, jerky, or roasted chickpeas, apples, and dark chocolate. In restaurants, start with a salad or a broth-based soup. Choose a protein and a roasted vegetable side and ask for sauces on the side. For celebrations, enjoy a small dessert after a protein-rich meal. Savor it slowly. The difference between arterial stress and arterial tolerance is not enjoyment, it's dose and timing. It's also fair to ask about fruit. Whole fruit, with its fiber and water, behaves differently than added sugar. Fiber acts like speed bumps for glucose. An apple is not the same as apple juice. Berries, apples, pears, and citrus are excellent choices for your arteries when they are part of a balanced meal pattern. If you're aiming for aggressive triglyceride reduction, you can keep fruit to 2 servings per day at first and evaluate. What about artificial sweeteners? They can help some people transition away from sugar, but they're not a long-term strategy for palate reset. Some can disturb the microbiome or keep sweet expectation high, which leads to compensation elsewhere. If you use them briefly while you develop confidence with savory, spiced, and naturally sweet whole foods. Let's connect this back to your labs and tangible wins. If you reduce added sugar for 4 to 8 weeks, you often see triglycerides drop first. Then fasting glucose and A1C nudge down. Blood pressure can improve as your endothelial function rebounds. Waist circumference shrinks because visceral fat is sensitive to insulin levels. People also report easier breathing on stairs, less afternoon fatigue, and a steadier pulse during stress. These are arterial wins you can actually feel. I want to share 3 short stories that mirror what many of my patients experience when they commit to this path. 62. Elena didn't think she ate much sugar because she avoided dessert. Her breakfast was orange juice, low-fat yogurt, and a granola bar. Her triglycerides were elevated, and her energy crashed at 2 p.m. She swapped the juice for water with lemon, the yogurt for unsweetened Greek yogurt with berries, and the bar for a small handful of almonds. 6 weeks later, her triglycerides dropped and her afternoon crash vanished. She didn't go hungry. She got smarter. James, 71, loved sweet tea and barbecue sauce. Rather than being perfect, he brewed unsweetened tea with slices of orange and switched to a dry rub on meats with a vinegar-based sauce on the side. He also walked for 2 minutes after meals. His blood pressure, which had been stubbornly elevated in the evening, came down several points. He felt empowered because the changes were simple and repeatable. 67 Maria traveled for work and felt trapped by airport food. She created a travel kit: roasted chickpeas, walnuts, dark chocolate, and electrolyte tablets without sugar. She walked the terminal during delays and chose salads with olive oil and hard-boiled eggs. Her sleep improved on trips, and her morning numbers stabilized. The lesson is universal. Prepared beats perfect. Sometimes people ask, if added sugar is the worst, does that mean all fat is fine? No. Quality matters on every front. Trans fats and repeatedly heated oils are unhelpful for arteries. But if you fear olive oil while drinking sweet coffee, you're fighting the wrong battle. Base your diet on whole foods with adequate protein, abundant vegetables, fruit in moderation, whole grains if they suit you, legumes, nuts, seeds, olive oil, and fish. Use dairy or fermented dairy if you tolerate it. Minimize ultra-processed foods, especially where sugar is added to steal your attention. This is a pattern for living, not a list of punishments. I want you to leave with a simple checklist you can narrate to yourself at the grocery store. First, scan for added sugar aliases in the ingredient list. Second, compare versions and choose the one with the lowest sugar and the highest fiber. Third, anchor your cart with proteins and vegetables before you pick up any packaged item. Fourth, choose one treat you truly love and plan its moment. Planned joy beats accidental overload. Fifth, commit to a 2-minute walk after your 2 largest meals each day. Your arteries will notice even if no one else does. If you are already managing a condition or taking medications, coordinate with your healthcare team, especially if you're on drugs that lower blood sugar. Positive changes can alter your needs. The safer and more informed you are, the more confident you'll feel sustaining these habits. Let me close with a single sentence that captures today's message. The worst food for your arteries that you probably eat daily is added sugar. And the moment you replace it with real food, savory flavor, smart timing, and tiny movement after meals, your vessels begin to recover their flexibility and calm. It is never too late to treat your arteries like living tissue that responds to your everyday choices. If this conversation gave you practical steps, choose one swap today and one tomorrow. Share this with someone you love who needs a gentle nudge, and subscribe if you want more clear, science-guided guidance presented with respect for your time and your intelligence. This is your heart and your life. Treat them both as precious. Disclaimer: this content is educational and not medical advice. If you have diabetes, cardiovascular disease, kidney disease, or take medications that affect blood sugar or blood pressure, consult a qualified professional before making dietary changes.